You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show. Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show, and I'm Mark Wiltshire. I'm joined today by Keke. Hi, Keke.
Hey.
And by Rich Nelson. Hi, Rich.
Moi.
And we're getting together today to have a little preview of the upcoming Huuhkajat fixtures. The men's Finnish national team have got their first two Euro 2024 qualifiers coming up against Denmark and Northern Ireland. It's still pretty wintry over here, so they scheduled the first two as away games, and we got Denmark away on Thursday the 23rd of March, and then Northern Ireland away on Sunday the 26th of March, and both of those games kick off at 9:45 p.m. Finnish time. You can do your own maths to work out what time it's showing over there, and we thought about a week ahead of those games that we'd get together, look at the Finland squad, look at the squads coming up, and just sort of chew the bones a little bit. So I guess, Keke, Rich, the first thing to look at is the Finland squad. And what about if we just sort of go through the team? If I run through who's been selected in certain positions, and then we can talk about notable inclusions or exclusions, and that might be a good place to start for this episode.
Sounds good.
So we'll start with the goalkeepers, and we've got Lukas Radetski, Jesse Joronen, and Viljami Sinisalo, who's brought his way into the squad maybe during the last year. But what did you think of that, chaps? The fact that he'd got that third goalkeeping spot.
I mean, he made his full debut in the January internationals. He's been sort of a mainstay of the under-21 side for a number of years now, and now he's graduated from there. He did have the first half of this season on loan at Burton Albion in England. He plays for Aston Villa, and he's gone back. He was recalled just before Christmas or after Christmas, and yeah, he's been on the Aston Villa bench fairly regularly since he's gone back. I think he played in their kind of under 23, was it Papa John's Shield or whatever it's called these days. But yeah, he's very highly rated by Villa, and I mean, he's not going to get too many sort of first team games, but I think he's highly regarded, and I think Rive's spoken highly of him as he's made that step up in January. It's kind of, there's a lot of strength. I mean, it's always the thing with Finnish goalkeepers, isn't it? There's always that strength in the position where you've got players like Saku Eriksson, who's gone on loan from Dundee United. Lucas Bergstrom's in a very similar position to Viljami at Chelsea, where he was on loan at Peterborough and got recalled, and he's now sort of regularly on the Chelsea bench during Champions League games and things like that. So there's a lot of players there who are kind of nudging for that third spot, and I guess Nicky Maienpää probably still clutching at a vain hope just in case things go horribly wrong somewhere. But yeah, I mean, Finnish goalkeeper is kind of that strongest position forever. And I mean, obviously Radetski's the number one and the captain, and will start. And he's been in generally pretty good form for Leverkusen. I know he had a rick in one of the Europa League games, but he recently made his 150th appearance for Leverkusen, and yes, he's doing well again for Venezia in Serie B. So again, good, solid base. Shame he can only play one of them.
What do you think, Keke, about Eriksson not being there? That would be the person who's missed out of that group, really, from the people Rich mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was really excited when Eriksson got his move to Dundee United. I mean, anyone who follows Scottish football will know that nothing has gone to plan for Dundee United this season. And for us, being Finland fans, that's a bit of a shame, because obviously Ilmari Niskanen is there as well. he's not featured too much, Niskanen for Dundee United. And Eriksson made a really positive start there. I've said previously on the pod, he did take a bit of a hammering off of Celtic, but he wouldn't be the first goalkeeper to be between the sticks in Scotland and have that on his CV. But he really chipped in with some decent performances. And after the heroics he had in Sweden, where he nearly broke that Allsvenskan goalkeeping clean sheet record by about, I think he was like 11 minutes short or something to set the all-time record or equal or break the all-time record. I think he can be a bit annoyed about how it all just went downhill at Dundee United. But he's got his loan move. He's had a couple of appearances for Nordsjælland, and yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on him, and I personally hope he continues or gets back onto the form that he was showing last time he was in a Nordic league. But yeah, I don't think he'll be too upset at not making this first squad. He needs to concentrate on his club football, I think. And as Rich said, Viljami Sinisalo, he's on the bench for a Premier League club. He's got a World Cup winning goalkeeper in front of him, so he'll take some shifting. But yeah, he's obviously Villa fancy him. They trust him enough to stick him on the bench every week. So yeah, why not bring him along for the third spot?
All right, so let's have a look at, and obviously we assume that Lucas Radecki will start those games, so this is all experience for Sinisalo, and Joronen will probably step in if there's anything goes awry. Looking at the defence, we've got Robert Ivanov, Leo Väisänen, Richard Jensen, Ardu Hoskonen, Nikolai Alho, and I think Ilmari Niskanen and Purusori are listed as defenders in this squad. Yeah, seems to be, and also Tuomas Ollila from HJK. So it's always a little bit tricky when the wing backs that might be wingers are listed in defence, and then the Finnish way of lumping the forwards and the midfielders in together. So let me you'll see, listener, if you look at the if you look at the blog post link down below. I've put the image that came from Palolito, and trying to work out where the midfield ends and the forwards begin is easier said than done. But maybe Keke, first of all, just any notable inclusions in the squad there, and then maybe Rich can talk about who's out of the squad.
Yeah, I mean we've mentioned Artur Hoskonen. He's moved to Poland. He's had a couple of games for his new club Cracovia and been doing all right over there after some really, really decent games for HJK. Leo Väisänen, who's joined MLS side Austin FC, he's been playing really well. People who sort of follow the Finnish Football Show Instagram will have seen he's been partnering our old mate Alex Ring. Alex Ring's dropped back into centre of defence for the first couple of games for Austin FC in the MLS there, and we were chatting on the WhatsApp. It's probably nice for Leo to have Alex Ring there in America to sort of have a friendly voice, and especially we all seen footballers before who mature, and as they mature they maybe step back from midfield into central defence. So to have a slightly older head and someone who's been in the MLS a couple of seasons can't be bad for Leo, and for the few games that he's been there, Leo Väisänen's put in some really good shifts. So yeah, really happy to see him included. We all know Robert Ivanov, what he can do. He's a ball playing centre half. He'll try and bring the ball out of defence at his feet and draw forwards towards him, create spaces. He's told us that himself when we spoke to him. That's how he likes to play. So yeah, excited to see him there. It's Richard Jensen, another guy who's gone to Poland. Does what he says on the tin, no nonsense defender. So yeah, it's a decent back line, plenty to choose from. As you say, the old wing backs, we'll see how they feature, how far up they go, or how deep they stay. Nikolai Alho, he's been doing well in Greece. You might not say it's the best league in the world, but he's been sort of supplying assists and getting up and down that wing in Greece. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Anyone, Rich, that you noticed being sort of conspicuous by their absence?
I mean, Jere Urunen, since he's moved to Schalke, they've really picked up. I think his first 4 games for Schalke, they drew 0-0 in all of their games, and they've started picking up. But he picked up an injury a couple of games ago, and yeah, he's not made the cut. And yeah, Dan O'Shaughnessy, I don't know if he's injured. I think he still is, isn't he? It's kind of one of those where, you know, the central defence options are quite thin on the ground, and wing backs coming out their ears.
Yeah.
But really in the middle, there's not a lot of options. And when you bear in mind that Hoskinen's only really come in the last 6 months into the setup, it really only leaves Ivanov, Väisänen and Jensen as those kind of first choice 3, assuming that's what they continue to do. But yeah, Urinen's a big miss, you know, as always. And you kind of see that this is the evolution, the revolution, where over that last couple of years, where the older players have been phased out and other players have retired, you know, especially at central defence, it's difficult to engineer that. You know, Finland are quite lucky that, you know, Ivanov in particular has really taken massive strides over the last 18 months or so. But yeah, it's again, you know, when you go to Denmark and, you know, Northern Ireland, there's going to be a lot of sort of physical play, and I think, you know, especially Northern Ireland, they're going to be very physical, direct, like a kind of lower league English team, and it's going to be a lot of hard work for them. So I'd imagine they'll continue 3 at the back because that's what they're used to, and they've got the wing backs in place. But yeah, those wing backs, it's a strange mix when you look at them. I mean, Olila moved to Hoiko in the winter and had a really good, I'll say good. He scored, I think he was one of Ilves' top scorers last year from fullback, and he's already carried that on at Hoiko. But you look at Alho, Sori, Niskanen, they're all converted wingers playing at wing back with varying degrees of success. And yeah, it's going to be a tough one. They're going to have their work cut out. But yeah, I think I'd imagine with that lineup, you'll carry on with a 3 in the middle.
And therefore,
I mean,
you've got...
obviously, we'll get into the midfield, but even our mate Robert Taylor has been sort of deployed as a more maybe forward thinking, but he's found himself at sort of wing back every now and again. So he's another one that might sort of drop into that position.
Yeah, well, he's listed here in the midfield, as you say, and I guess if we've got attacking wing backs, it's going to need to be a little bit of defensive cover there in the middle of the park. So there's a few sort of long-standing Huuhkajat players there, and then a few that have sort of forced their way in more recently. So there's Glenn Kamara, Rasmus Schüller, Robert Taylor, Robin Lurd, Kaan Kairinen, Anssi Suhonen, and Niilo Mampa are the midfielders there. So I guess we're thinking there's 3 centre backs, 3 midfielders, and 2 wing backs. Then, you know, you're perming 3 from that 6 of the listed midfielders, or 7 listed midfielders.
Yeah, I think Schüller and Kamara are going to be the kind of the locks in there. They're going to be the guaranteed starters. Lords, again, this is kind of, he's in that position where sometimes he plays as a number 10, as a second striker, and then other times as an advanced midfielder. But it's you know, we other people have talked about the absence of Onni Valakari. Scored at the weekend, albeit a penalty, but Rive said that, you know, he missed the cut this time and his form's been up and down. And this goes to show that kind of the emergence of Suhonen in particular. You know, he was so highly rated when he went to Hamburg, then got a nasty injury, came back and made his Finland debut in the autumn and looked really, really promising. Came on like leaps and bounds. You know, and the hype for him is real. Kairinen, since he's moved to Prague from Norway, he's fitted in really well there. He started really well, assists, goals, and Maimpas really, again, not out of nowhere, but in the last 6 months, he's emerged into the squad. You know, he was a decent Veikkausliiga player. Then he moved to Poland, and all of a sudden now he's in the Finland squad. So there is that competition for places. And Taylor, well, as you say, Taylor, he scored that banger for Miami in MLS a couple of weeks ago. But what a goal that was! You know, there's really strong competition, and you think Schüller and Kamara are the certs to play
nailed
there.
on, yeah.
you know, and Lod should do, but they're still trying to work out his best position, and then it depends who plays up front. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. I mean, I kind of, if this wasn't a big qualifier away to the top seed, I'd imagine Suhonen would play, but I wonder if he might play a bit more conservatively with someone a bit more experienced
for the Denmark game before maybe being a little bit more attacking for the Northern Ireland game, maybe. Yeah,
slightly, but both will be physical, and I think you need people in that midfield because I mean, bear in mind starting with 2 tough away games, you want to come out of it with something, and with Schuller and Kamara will put their foot in, but that's not to say they're going to pick up yellows. And both have form for picking up a lot of yellows.
And Suhonen and Marmpa are names that I've seen regularly on Keke's Instagram, Finnish Football Show Instagram account, talking about goals scored and things like that. So, anyone from there, Keke, missing that you might have expected to see there?
Just before I go on to that, I just want to touch on if we don't see a bit of Kaan Kairinen over the 2 games, I think it'll be a disappointment. As Rich said, he's been absolutely pulling up trees since he moved to Sparta Prague. So I'd really hope to see him feature. Missing, I mean, I'm not really sure, mate. I mean, we spoke over the autumn internationals, and there was a lot of change there, and a lot of young players came in. But we did mention after that, that this squad would definitely have a more familiar look to it, and I think that's what's pretty much happened. Yeah, as Rich again said, Suhonen had that injury, but he's back, and he's an exciting young player. So yeah, I mean,
but for the listener, where would you expect Suhonen might appear, or and Marmpa really, on if they get some playing time? What sort of position might they take up on the field?
Suhonen would sit ahead of Kamara and Schuller. I mean, he's very tricksy, not in a showboaty way, but he has form for the old rainbow flicks and bits and bobs, but it's with an end product. I think did he got the assist for Ant-Man's goal against Montenegro? I think it was.
Yeah.
In the autumn, or Macedonia, sorry. And and again, he's attacking minded, very much in that kind of attacking sort of withdrawal number 10 role. But yeah, he's not a tackler. He's definitely a creator.
Yeah, he can go past players, can't he, Rich? Do you know what I mean? Like he can use that box of tricks to go past players, or find that final ball into the striker's feet. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to deploy Kamara and Schuller as your destroyers, and sort of try and break up the opposition attack, and then look to get that ball forward to Suhonen, he can then spring it one more step and put in the strikers. So hopefully we might see a bit of that.
Noticeable by his absence, I think he's looking for a new club side at the moment, is Urho Nisila. And he's not in the squad here. Is there injury, or is this to do with form, or?
I'd imagine, being a free agent, it's probably not trained, no match fitness. There was a suggestion that Kups inquired about him going back for a 3rd time, but I think his wage now, having come from Asia and a higher profile league, has probably put paid to that. I mean, it's again, he's played quite a bit under Rive over the last 2 or 3 years, but again, he only played, I think, 22 games in Korea over that spell he was there, and he's not played for a number of months. So I think if he found a club and got semi-regular minutes, then he'd be back in contention. But we've seen that Rive does integrate players back in once they're into form and once they're playing again. Niskanen, a prime example. But yeah, it's a shame because he was such a good player, and went to Korea. It was an interesting choice, and fair play to him for giving it a try. And I think it started fairly well, but yeah, he kind of dropped out of favour there, and it's all gone a little bit awry because now he's 26, I believe, and he's going to struggle if his wage demands are that high. Really, who's going to afford him in Finland? Hoiko, and that's it.
So. he played really well when he came into the national side, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't look out of place at international level at all. And Rich enjoyed his form for Cooks there, and obviously he went to Korea. We did maybe raise some eyebrows. We all agreed that it was probably a higher standard of league, but we did sort of raise a few eyebrows whether going to that destination would work out. And I think we can ultimately say the experiment didn't quite prove as fruitful as it might have been. Maybe did his bank balance all right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else he got out of it. But like you say, Rich, it seemed to start off all right, and then just sort of fizzled out. I mean, I don't know. Is that culture so different that managers over there want to stick with local players? I don't know. I mean, it's bad enough going to another European country and having a language barrier, but they don't even use the alphabet there, do they? Do you know what I mean? It's like, so I don't know, but yeah, hopefully we can see him back.
Well, maybe the fact he spent some time in Korea means he might settle in at Wimbledon. I mean, that's the part of London where me and Mark have been. It's the largest Korean population outside of Korea, I believe. So get himself down to Wimbledon.
It's true, and AFC Wimbledon tried to tap into that some years ago. And at one stage, one of the stands down at Kingsmeadow was the Nongshim noodles stand. But I don't know that was so successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you're not the first person to suggest that he comes down to Wimbledon. There's another Finnish guy in the Wimbledon Facebook group, Paavo, who's already suggested that. And well, that'd be nice, but I can't see him coming down to League Two somehow.
No offense, mate. I do think he's a little bit better than that. You know what I mean? He could, maybe not Premier League standard, but he'd do a job for a championship club.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, hopefully there's scouts out there who've heard of Nisila and they can pick him up.
Talking of doing a job for championship clubs, Keke, that brings us nicely on to the forwards. And there are Finnish players in the championship whose agents know about Nisila, I'm sure. So we got Teemu Pukki, Marcus Forss, Joel Pohjanpalo, Benjamin Chalman, Frederick Enton, all quite established and familiar names. And then you've got the spark, everyone's favourite superhero, trademark, yes. Rich Nelson, Oliver Antman making up the sixth of those strikers. And I think, like I say, there's not too many surprises there, and even Antman's not a surprise to be included. But he's exciting, isn't he? What can the listener expect if they watch this and Antman plays?
Well, Antman, it's quite surprising he's in the squad because he's been injured. He picked up an injury he's now on loan at Groningen from Denmark, and I think he started really well there. He scored his debut.
Yep.
And then he got injured in his second or third game. And he's direct, he's quick, he's coming in off the wing. He's not centre forward in the way that Forss or Pohjanpalo are, but he's coming in from that side and really running at defenders and giving them that conundrum of what do you do, especially when I think he's done well against teams that have defended compact and deep, which is a hard skill because they don't leave a lot of space. And that game that you were at, Montenegro, Keke, I think dried off yet. I mean, he was a revelation, absolutely, when he came on, and then scored again in Macedonia in the autumn friendlies. And I mean, going to Holland, to Tim Sparv's old club, it's a step up, and he's been really well regarded. I mean, it's only a loan that he's there for, but I mean, he's got so much potential in the way that we've not had that kind of excitement. I mean, these players do come through and burst brightly for a short period, but he definitely offers something a little bit different. He's not just getting to the byline and crossing in; he's actually running at goal with the ball, and it's really a nice option to have, because when you think about how Finland over the last sort of 18 months or so are learning now, because let's be honest, Teemu Pukki, he is very much in a decline. I think he's coming up to 33. He's out of contract at Norwich.
Striker.
Yeah, was out of contract at Norwich at the end of the season. Pala's doing well in Italy, scoring goals, and Force has got a bit of a run of goals now as well for Middlesbrough. So, you know, this is where we're looking, you know, at life after Pookie. I mean, I can't now say he's a guaranteed starter. And if Ant-Man is fit, and he has been out for a while, I can't remember if it was a groin or a hamstring strain he had, but you know, if he's fit enough to play, even if it's 20 minutes off the bench against Denmark, if it's close, yeah, he's an absolute star to bring on. But yeah, I think that, you know, Chalman as well, you know, when he came on against Montenegro, he looked like he'd been watching videos of the old Ronaldo, you know, step overs and lollipops and stuff like that. So, you know, you've got options there. And I mean, obviously Ant-Man's the kind of exciting one, but a lot of the other strikers are in decent form for once.
Let's have a think forward to the two games. We talked through our squad, and I think we sort of dipped in and out of who might play and how we might sort of play against each of the two teams. Like you say, Denmark and then Northern Ireland, both physical, different standard of opposition, though. I'm not going to run through the entire Denmark squad because, you know, it'll probably be terrified to watch the game. They've got a lot of established Premier League players. There's one notable absence in Christian Eriksen. Was there anyone else missing from the squad that you noticed? And also, let's talk a little bit about their form, because they didn't have the best World Cup.
No, they were poor in the World Cup, weren't they? And after the Euros that they had, and I mean, of course, a lot of the conversation in the next week or so is going to be about that game in the park and a couple of years back. You know, and it's, I don't know, well, obviously from Finland's point of view, it's a good thing that Eriksen's not there, but of course, you know, he's a star name, and I think Andy Carroll did a really good number on him in that cup tie a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, the quality of some of their players, you know, I'm not going to be an expert, but I think it was Damsgaard. I think was absolutely tremendous in the Euros when they got to the semi-final. Once they got over that Eriksen issue, Højbjerg obviously doing Spurs, and Billing at Bournemouth is scoring goals as well. So, I mean, they've got players who are playing at a high level, and you know, I don't know if Kasper Schmeichel's still the number one now that he's playing in France now, but you know, you've got some players there who are, you know, well into the latter stage of their career, but they do have some top youngsters. That yeah, Damsgaard was really impressive, and Braithwaite somehow got his move to Barcelona. I was amazed at that, but yeah, I mean, they'll be, you know, they're top seeds for a reason, but yeah, after that World Cup, I think they've got a point to prove, because they were really bad by their standards, anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people ticked them for that, be a bit of a dark horse for that World Cup, and it just didn't. Yeah, including you, Mark. And it just didn't work out for them, did it? I mean, yeah, it just all seemed to fall apart, especially after such an impressive Euro like the year before. But is Martin Braithwaite still at Barcelona, or where is he these
days? I think he's gone now. But yeah, I think he had his 6 months of, or 15 minutes of fame, and
and a big slurp at the gravy train as it went past.
Oh, very much so.
Fair play to him as well.
No, that's it.
The game against Ireland is when a positive result of some sort against Denmark would be great. Then the rest of the teams, based on seedings, we would expect some kind of, we'd expect to be winning, wouldn't we? And that includes Northern Ireland.
Yep.
Looking at their squad, there's quite a lot of veteran players with Premier League and Championship experience, but, you know, Johnny Evans, Craig Cathcart, Paddy McNair, they're names that you know. Josh McGuinness as well. Like they've been there quite a long time. I don't know how the development of the squad's coming through. One name that jumped out at me was Connor Hazard, one of the goalkeepers there who spent last season at Huuhkajat, and he was a pain in the neck. He kept stopping Huuhkajat scoring goals, which I suppose is the point, but it's annoying. Your point, Rich, about it being a physical game is probably true. But do you see this as being one where maybe some of the younger players get a little bit more, the flair players get a little bit more chance to show their thing?
I think so. I mean, you'd expect Northern Ireland again at home to set up in a way to really grind and drive and outmuscle Finland. I mean, you've got big players there and players who've had, some of them have got quite good pedigrees. Being at a place like Manchester United and stuff growing up, and but this is a Northern Ireland side who really haven't done well at all in the last couple of years. I mean, after qualifying for Euro 2016, they went on a big kind of downturn, and Keke and I were there at the last time Finland played in Belfast. It's 8 years ago now, I think it was. Yeah. Towards the end of the reign of Mixu Patalainen, and Finland just didn't turn up then. This is a different Finland team now. I think Windsor Park won't be rocking because it was actually rocking because the foundations were poor when Finland played there. But no, it's going to be tough. And I think Northern Ireland do play like a kind of championship team because most of the players play in the championship, funny enough. But Finland are going to have to go there again and get minimum a point, if they're going to have a real shot at this. Because when you look at these groups and the way that top two go through automatically, you don't want to have to rely on that Nations League place where Finland might get a playoff place out of it, but again, like the last Euros, get that second place or first, but get that automatic place and put it to bed. Don't worry about it, and then concentrate on there. And this is kind of, again, you don't want to start getting too far behind the teams that pick up wins because someone is playing San Marino, so someone's going to win that game. You don't want to start going into the next round of games because then they're not playing again until sort of the middle of June. And you don't want to get to that position where you're already sort of playing catch up against decent team like Slovenia. You don't want to be behind them too early and have to really start chasing. So getting out of this opening round of fixtures with 2 or 3 points minimum really is kind of what they're looking for. But there's going to be some bruised shins afterwards.
It's a good point.
I can see.
Oh, sorry, Keke, go on.
I can see, especially this Northern Ireland away game, I can see that possibly being quite a cagey affair. I mean, I think Northern Ireland will be wary of Finland. I think that it's even possible that they will consider us to be better than them, but especially at home, they will not want to lose. So I can see it being a bit cagey. I can see Northern Ireland sort of sitting deep, as Rich says, being physical, trying to sort of scare us off with the odd kick to the shin or the odd stamp on the foot. But they as I said, I think they will consider us to be slightly better than them, but they won't want to give it up easy at home. But our quality just needs to come to the top at the end of the day, and we need to try and leave there with 3 points in the bag.
Yeah, Northern Ireland are coming on the back of an away game at San Marino, which they would certainly be hoping to win, expecting to win. So that result may have an effect on their morale as well. And I guess we didn't really talk about the group itself in great detail at the start of the show. So this is Group H of the Euro 2024 qualifiers. It's Denmark, Finland, Northern Ireland, San Marino, Slovenia, and Kazakhstan. I'm not quite sure what order that's in because nobody's played any games or got any points. It's certainly not alphabetical order, but anyway. And it's certainly not seed order because San Marino are not fourth out of that group of 6 by their seed either. So, and as Rich said, the next games for Finland are in the middle of June with a home game against Slovenia and then San Marino in the middle of the 16th and 19th of June. In Finland, these games can be watched on Yle Arena, and in the blog post, which is linked just below wherever you're watching and listening, there's links to those games. In the past, I've been able to find a link that shows you where you can watch all the games in various different countries, but I didn't quite find that in time.
I don't know what channel they're on in the UK now, because they're not on Sky now. I think, are they on?
Is it DA
Premier
KZ or something? Is it one of them ones?
I don't know.
Dan's Sport or something?
DAZN. I think it's Premier Sports or what? Oh, I don't know.
Well, if you guys find it, then let me know and I'll put it in the blog post. And if it's not
the
in the
Northern
blog
Ireland
post,
game
listener,
may
then
well be on the BBC.
That might be on
That's
BBC
true.
or BT, I suppose. Yeah, but that should be a bit easier to find. I think they had a deal actually, didn't they? I think the home countries that aren't England, their games are a bit more readily available. Yeah.
Nice. You might be able to watch it with some British commentary mispronouncing all the Finnish player names.
Oh, that's always good.
Always. It's always a giggle. Yeah. So these games are on the 23rd and the 26th. We're going to come back soon after each game with some kind of match report. Let's see if it's practical to do it the night before or sometime the following day. But we'll try and get something to you quickly, and we'll see if we can't get the missing Mark Hayton involved in those to bring his view of the national team. Yeah, exactly to the show again. But listener, thanks for joining us until those next episodes. Goodbye, Rich. Thanks for your time.
Hey.
And Keke, good to see you. Thanks a lot.
Kiitos. Näkemiin.
We'll be back on the 23rd, 24th. Thanks a lot. Bye. You've been listening to The Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow The Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke Muleri, and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.